Hello, everyone.
Hello.
This is John.
Hi.
You remember John from way back
Way
in the day.
back when.
Hopefully, you guys can hear us okay. We're kind of offset from the normal streaming position, so it's going to be hard for me to read comments. And in fact, it's going to be hard enough for me to get everything else set up here. But hopefully we're good. If you can't hear us, say something, and we'll stop and we'll fix it. We should be okay. Before we get into the conversation tonight, some of you have not sent me a mailing address for your spooky garlic hot sauce from Dad Bod Pepper Co. So if you want one, make sure you get me your address so I can get those sent out, because I'm waiting to send them all out at once. So I only have to pay one large sum instead of several small ones. I feel like the cost of mailing things.
Right.
And some of you guys are out of the country, so I don't even know what that's probably gonna be a while before you get it. So I've got to send one to the UK.
Oh wow.
And one to Canada.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to see. I don't even know if I'm allowed to export sauce.
That's spooky.
It's spooky, all right. Spooky garlic. Hopefully we're good. They say we sound good, so I think we're good. Hello. Welcome back to Beyond the Patio, the Patreon exclusive live stream. Second one of the month, actually, because we had to skip last month. So I did 2 this month.
Oh, my gosh.
To make up for it. And I thought this would be a great time to bring John, who is recently retired.
Yes.
Back into the fold a little bit. And we're going to talk about UFO stuff. John, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing well. I've been trying to keep up on the latest UFO from the government.
we'll talk about that.
Thing,
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because I watched the UAP hearing. Was that last week?
Yes, I think.
It was maybe 45 minutes or so of basically absolutely nothing.
Nothing, right?
It was interesting to see what the official take was, I feel like. But largely, nothing was said. It was a lot of, we'll talk about that in closed session. I felt like every comment was, well, we'll talk about that later.
Right. It was, I wasn't disappointed, though. I mean, it's what everyone expected.
Oh, yeah. That's,
it wasn't, there was no surprises. Look, we have this video. We don't know what it is.
Yeah. There was also several, like,
Yes.
the people asking the questions. There was like 2 main guys that were answering the questions. I don't remember who they are or what they do exactly, but they're investigating all this stuff. And it was a whole bunch of, well, I haven't heard of that. That hasn't been officially reported to me.
Yeah, I don't know, but there is something going on there. I think for the government to keep doing the same thing over and over as often as they are, I guess they're trying to teeny tiny baby steps, maybe backwards a little bit, moonwalking forward. I don't know, but it was something. I guess it was better than nothing.
The first UAP hearing in like 20 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was a little disappointed, but I was also a little happy. And let me tell you why I was a little bit relieved. I really thought it was going to be a lot more of, we need money to build a space army to fight this automatically violent and aggressive force that we know nothing about. I really have been feeling like this for a long time, that they're going to use this as a way to like further weaponize space. I think my problem with that, my issue with that is there have been absolutely zero signs that there's any type of aggression or malice. If they wanted us dead, we'd already be dead.
Yeah.
So they're using technology that the government cannot explain. Also, I have several theories on what it is that we're actually seeing. So there's also that.
Right.
What do you think's really going on? Like,
I think probably part of it is that it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I think that they're trying to get ahead of something that maybe might show up later, or something that someone releases something, or the Navy releases something now. If they would release something brand new, say tomorrow, then they're sort of ahead of the game. They can say, okay, they had said this week, so we don't know what it is, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of to cover their tracks. I don't know. I mean, I think the other thing might be that there's maybe our government is doing some things on their own.
I got a sense of that from,
and saying maybe we have this and we're coming up with this. Officially, they would say we're coming up with some kind of technology we'd like to introduce, and look what we have discovered here. All of a sudden, magically,
yeah.
I just think generally that they really are trying to get 25 steps ahead for something that, be it the government or something else or somebody releasing video, 25 steps ahead to prepare for what's could be coming. That's what I think. We'll see.
We will see. We will see.
We'll see if that happens. I don't know nothing about it.
20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was a ripe old age of 16.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think there would ever be a time where I felt like we were close to having something big happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely never thought there would be a time where the government would openly say, we recognize these things.
Right.
Well, here we are now. And it's been said several times by the government, there's something going on and we don't know what it is.
Right.
And I also think, going kind of bouncing off what you said, I think that we're going to start seeing a major influx in whatever this phenomena is.
They're not doing that. They've taken all these years to just to say we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So they're not doing this for no reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
And it still could be that my worst fear will be realized, that this is all going to be a ploy to throw more money into senseless industrial military spending.
It could be a mix. I think it's a mix. I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
But I think there's more to it than that. You know, I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's a whole slew of things that they're throwing into a bag and saying, okay, let's cover our tracks here. And by doing that, we're going to say we don't know what this video is. You know.
So it leads us to the next question is, what do you think is actually being reported? What do you think that these phenomena are? Do you think that it's all extraterrestrial? Do you think it's a mix of extraterrestrial and secret government project? Do you think it's something a little weirder on the spectrum, which is where I lean, that this phenomena shares a source with ghost phenomena, cryptid phenomena, and just high strangeness in general?
I think what you're getting at there on your last point could be, but is it ghost or is it just technology we don't understand? You know, because if there are some societies 3 million years ahead of us,
mm-hmm.
and they say, look what we can do, we're not going to understand it. We're going to see it as magic,
mm-hmm.
or ghost or whatever, you know. So who's to know?
Yeah.
You know, who's to know? I think part of it's that, and I think the other part might be just your basic alien.
Just your basic alien.
You know?
Just your basic alien.
I don't think it's like one. I've never thought that it's just one type of alien or one thing. I think that's what makes it so confusing.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes the whole thing so, because it could be partly us. It could be something that we have discovered that, you know, we've done some work on it and wow, look what we can do, but we're not going to say it's us, but here it is. And we don't know what it is we really don't know what this is, or we don't even understand this.
Kind of the Bob Lazar route.
Exactly. Yeah.
So are you on board with the Bob Lazar story?
I am.
Yeah.
I think he's a really, really smart guy. And I think in a way he's maybe too smart, and he's trying to do some things. You know, some people say, you know, he's trying to throw some curveballs out there, maybe. But if what he's saying is really true, he's got to be real careful.
Oh yeah. And
the interviews that I've seen for him, he's being real careful.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's not just. But yeah, I'm all in for that. You know, I think he's for real. Definitely a smart guy.
Definitely a smart guy. That's not within any type of question.
Right.
I'm still a little on the fence, although I do lean more towards believing what he's saying, just because he's been so consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about decades now,
right?
And it hasn't brought him any like riches. In fact, it's only hurt his reputation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, every step of the way, and he gets raided by the government like regularly.
Yeah.
You know, he's just trying to be a regular dude and have a regular business now. I mean, well, sort of regular,
but he doesn't have like the Bob Lazar show on.
Right.
You know, I mean, he's not doing anything like that. So, yeah.
It's not that he doesn't do interviews, but they are sparse and usually pretty far between. Like he just did Rogan, 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the first time in a long time. But he also just had the documentary come out on Netflix, which was a prime example of the government like being involved with him in his private life.
Yeah.
they did the little experiment where they like turned the phone off and like laid it in the road and then went and talked about something, and the next day they get raided. Like, come on.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's for real though. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, everybody wishes that he could say more, because I always get the feeling like you could say more if you wanted to, and he holds back. You can tell when he's like,
Yeah. We kind of covered that a little bit when he was on Rogan, and he said that he had a migraine. So it's like he can be short and like kind of dispel things if he doesn't want to talk about them because he has a migraine. Maybe he did have a migraine. I've had migraines, and I couldn't have that interview with a migraine that I've had.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. So I am not beyond saying that I think or don't think that extraterrestrials could or are visiting us. I think there's a blend of my little longtime listeners and followers know my working clay theory of the clay being shaped to different things according to geomagnetics and body chemistry and state of mind and all these other things that build up this recipe. I'm working on that, by the way. I'll let you know. But I also think that part of that is there's definitely a possibility that we're being visited by, intelligent life from somewhere else in the universe. And I think it's definitely egotistical and just plain wrong to assume that we're the only intelligent planet. It's ridiculous.
I hope not.
It's because if we're the top of the food chain, the whole universe is in trouble. We are in a Goldilocks zone where we have a moon that absorbs a lot of, meteor activity, and, we're in a good distance from the sun, but that's arguable because life could have evolved to different adaptations based on proximity of the sun, of their star, so that's some of that's kind of, you could go either way, but there's a lot. We're talking about, a century of people talking about their experiences, with these things. And whether that's all hokey and made up and people are like, nah, I'll tell this story, seems unlikely, or it's something that really did happen to them. I've talked to people who've been abducted or say they've been abducted, and they have no reason to not believe them.
I think the farther you go back in history, though, when you even ancient history, when you get into that kind of thing, I don't think that people back then or even 100 years ago or further are really going to make something like that up.
Yeah.
I got now with everything out there, and that's what's at. Sure.
Yeah.
But that long ago, I don't think so.
Yeah. You have to have some sort of motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what would persuade someone to make that up now. I understand why people would, I guess, but I can't think of myself personally, like why I would ever make up that story, like make up a story about being abducted or encountering or seeing even.
Well, there's one gentleman I know, he's no longer with us. He passed a long time ago, but he was an insurance salesman, straightforward guy. And he had this wild story, and he wasn't lying. He's not the kind of person that would be boring. He fished, hunted, typical Midwestern.
Yeah.
And his story's unreal.
You want to tell the story? Because I don't think I've heard it.
You haven't heard his story, bro? I haven't told you the story.
Maybe you have, maybe you haven't.
It happened north of where we're at right now on a pond. And he was literally fishing as long as sunset. And there was a craft that just hovered above the pond. I could even take you there. It's not very far. And obviously he freaked out, because then he probably would have been, I'm going to show my age now, but he probably would have been in his 50s back then, because I was in my 20s. So yeah, he would have been in his 50s. Okay, in a small town, and seeing something like that, guy to himself, straightforward guy.
Yeah.
Kind of a quiet guy, actually. Told that story to his son, and he told it to all of us because we were all really good friends. We would have parties at his house and everything like that. and it was just wild. No one knew what to say.
So,
and he's not, and he's one of those people. No way would he make something like that, because it would hurt
around here, absolutely.
But
that's his business, based on his reputation.
Yeah.
So it just came down, like hovered over the pond.
It hovered over the pond,
and then took off.
And just took off.
How long did
He didn't have any missing time or anything like that. I don't think. I mean, the story that he told was he was fishing and it hovered over the pond for some time and then gone.
It's always fascinating to me, and I think you have told me that story actually. It doesn't matter where you are, especially in this country, but in the world, there are people that see these. Mm-hmm. And it's not as common as seeing a specific type of bird, but it's pretty common. In every type of town and civilization in this world, people are seeing these things, doing similar things or more or less. It's different than, I'd say it's more frequent than people who say that they see ghosts for the most part, other than psychic people who say they see them all the time. Mm-hmm. Definitely more frequent than Bigfoot encounters. Definitely more frequent than any other cryptotype encounter. I have seen 3 UFOs, and there's maybe 70 people that live here. Right. Yeah. So
most people aren't going to say anything.
No.
If they actually see one, I think the majority of people aren't going to say anything.
Yeah, here anyway.
Well, yeah, definitely here. But I even think anywhere, I think it's really, that's kind of what I go by. If someone just jumps on it and said, wow, you wouldn't believe what I seen the other night,
Yeah.
We were out partying and, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But most people really, I don't think, are going to say anything. That's just what I think. I think most people are going to say, don't know what to think about that. They might tell family members, maybe a good close friend or two.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna,
Do you think that that's going to change the more often that the federal government is on national TV talking about it?
Yeah, I think that's one good thing for sure.
But do you also think that will cause people to make up shit?
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's what's bad. It's terrible. That's what's bad.
I'm just going to take a quick look at the comments while we're here. This is interesting, John. I sell insurance also, and you definitely don't want your clients knowing that you believe in UFOs. Got to stay in the shadows, unfortunately. It's a very good point. It's exactly what you were.
There's no way.
Exactly what you were saying. Let's see here. Pretty sure all gynos are aliens. Well, hey, a good way to study, I guess. You get people coming to you. I'll look at more of the comments later. It's kind of tricky with the screen is over there, and I'm normally looking right at it, right? And so now I'm looking at a blank wall. There's not even anything over the insulation. It is insulation and studs and outlets that I don't ever use because they're on the empty wall. I have, you can see some sheets there on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mural that I have to put up on this wall. It's a dark forest mural that I've been sitting on since like December. I am going to get it put up at some point. I just don't know when. I have to get plywood. I was waiting for plywood to come down, because everything shot way up. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we're wildly off topic. Back to the UFO thing. There are cases of UFO sightings literally anywhere. You go outside and you throw a rock and you're going to hit somebody who's seen one or knows somebody who's seen one, whether they will admit that that's what it is or that person's crazy or whatever. And I think there's still a giant stigma on it, but I do think it's getting better. And I think going back, having things like the government talking about it on national TV is going to go a long way in removing the stigma to it.
One thing, don't you find it a little odd that the United States government would not have an official reporting site or a reporting department themselves?
They did say something in the hearing about different reporting groups that they were working with, and you wonder if MUFON is one of them. They didn't say specifically who they had been working with, but
to me, that's kind of the thing that I think a lot of people really need to think about, because if this is for real, if the government's going to be for real about it, you would think that they would say report it to UAP, U.S. government official office,
UAP.gov.
not MUFON or whoever.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they would want it. But that they can play it safe that way. We're not saying this. This is what MUFON is saying. This comes from this. So I don't know.
If they're not personally vetting the people who are making the reports, then they're off the hook as far as
the hook. And for it to be real, they're going to have to be on the hook.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think that there will be a time, maybe beyond our lives, maybe the next generation's lives, even that will be the case, that they will have some sort of official, like, we're going to vet these reports. This is the official thing. This came Tuesday. This came Wednesday. Whatever. Do you think it's going to become part of just like regular news coverage at any point in the future?
Maybe in the future. I don't see it anytime soon.
Well, based on the way this hearing went.
But it could be, you know, if something's really big and it comes, say, through MUFON or something like this, you know. I mean, like the U.S. Navy, you know, when they released all of that, that's a little bit of something there. And really, you know, you would think that the government would want to have a reporting thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I kind of wonder why they don't. I really do. If they're real serious about it, instead of going, you know, to this group and that group, to, you know, Jason's UFO reporting club or whatever. You know?
Sign up now. Patreon.com/Jason's UFO reporting club. No, free t-shirt. Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it is going back to just being able to say, you know, we're not the ones saying this, you know, to cover the tracks that way. But I also think that, man, our federal government is just so inept at anything besides collecting tax money that I don't think they have the ability to handle the amount of reports that would be coming in, process them, and, you know, and get it out after they sift through it, after they vet the witnesses, whatever, you know, or they just don't want it. They don't want to have to deal with it.
You know, right now, I don't think they want to. I don't think they want to do it. There's no desire to have that, but they're willing to get it from somebody else. To me, that's just so strange.
I believe they said most of the reports that they go over come from like civilian pilots, like major airline pilots. I thought that was interesting that they would mention that. But I would argue that more of the footage that's been released has been from the government, like from military agencies. So it's weird that they aren't really saying much about what they're getting from these pilots, just that they get most of it from, you know, regular people. Well, pilots, I guess they're regular people, right? Pilots are people too.
Pilots are people.
I believe that's a movement. Patreon.com/pilots are people too. They do not have free t-shirts. I don't know.
But I don't know, you know, with the Navy and all of that, releasing those videos. When that first happened, I was kind of really skeptical. I was really skeptical. I'm like, yeah, okay, here we go. But you know, later on, okay, there's something here, but why would they let that slip out?
Yeah. I was most interested and intrigued by how little people cared. You know, I think we have talked about this. I believe we've even talked about it on the show.
I talked about this with another person not too long ago about, are we ready for it? With
another person, John.
I know. I have to talk to another person. I think we're not ready.
Well, clearly we're not.
I used to think we're ready, but I've recently changed my mind. I don't think.
2 years ago, my mind changed.
Yes, we're not ready.
No.
And so that's fine. We don't need to know.
No. There should be a channel, some way of getting the information for those of us that are capable of handling the information. Yeah. But the general public, absolutely not. No. We proved that when we bought toilet paper to the point of extinction. Right. Because there was a pandemic of a disease, an illness that did not require the use of extra toilet paper, unless you're blowing your nose with it, I guess. But yeah, we're not ready as a civilization to handle this. Not in America, anyway. In most countries, I would say probably the same. You know, some countries probably could handle it. You know,
they could have been right all this time. We're just not ready.
Yeah, clearly.
We know what kind of people are out there.
It's disgusting to me that that we have to admit now that the government's right. We're not ready. Way to go, people. No. Okay, so we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier about clearly with the differentiation and representation of these types of crafts, if they are indeed crafts, that it's definitely most likely not the same species, race, civilization, whatever. There's a lot of people that make these big lists of, you know, the 28 different alien species that visit Earth on Wednesdays or whatever. But how many do you think realistically would find our planet and find it questionable, curious enough to come and visit realistically?
Well, if they're, you know, interstellar craft and they've seen a lot, we don't know what's all out there. I think they would find us a little interesting at times.
Like going to the zoo and watching the chimps for a half hour.
Right. I mean, let's watch chimps with cell phones. That's, you know, I don't know. I think they would find us interesting, but I think after a while we would be boring. And maybe that's why it's like, okay, that's enough of this. Let's go on. And here's another species from wherever, planet, universe, or whatever. Oh, there's some humans. They have cell phones. Yeah. Okay, well, let's go. You know.
Oh, they also have nuclear warheads.
I think a little bit of that's true. You know, and I I don't know. You know, and would they be more like of an organic, robotic type of thing visiting us, and something like that? I think is definitely within the possibility. You know, let's not really go there because they have cell phones, and I don't know, they do some weird things with those cell phones. So let's send the robots
called
down,
out.
You know.
Yeah.
And
maybe they only send robots on these trips anyway.
Right.
You know, like we do. I mean, we're doing that now. We've been doing that for like 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
So with coming and seeing they have this, they have that. They see that we have weaponry that could destroy the entire planet. And they even talked about this in the hearing about these craft coming in and suddenly military systems are disarmed. And that's part of their concern. Is that something from one of our adversaries? They use adversary a lot in the government. Or, you know, that's what they were looking at. Is that this, or is it something we don't know about? And they lean towards it being something we don't know about, which I'm surprised they even said.
If you're from whatever planet or universe or whatever, and you're coming to our planet, you say, these ships with cell phones have something that can destroy the planet. You're probably going to want to shut that down if you're going to visit that planet.
Yeah,
I get that. I totally get that. I don't think they'd necessarily be adversarial, but I think they're just being a little careful here, you know?
Yeah. But there have been tons of documented cases of areas where there's concentrated nuclear capable missiles, rockets, warheads, whatever you want to call them, coinciding with sightings of UFOs across history. In fact, the Little Green Men story out of Hopkinsville in 1955, there's a military base just south of Hopkinsville.
I've been there.
At the time of that sighting, there were more nuclear materials housed in any base right there than any other base in the entire world. And what is it? Maybe 30 minutes up the road, there's the Kelly Hopkinsville incident.
Yeah.
You know, so I find that interesting, and maybe it's part of it. Maybe that's part of, like, they're locking in on uranium or, you know, whatever. And they say, oh, there's some uranium. Let's go check it out. And then they get there and like, oh no, they're already using it, you know? So that's interesting too. And another thing that I want to talk about before you have said different planets / different universes, and we're going to get there in a minute. I want to talk about that. But before we get there, there's one more point that I wanted to cover was, oh God, I've lost the point. Oh no.
It's there somewhere.
Oh, this was a really serious thing I was going to talk about, and it has left. Maybe I've been Men in Black. Okay, let's talk about multiverse theory, because I know you probably have thoughts on the multiverse and how it exists to you, and I find it interesting to get your take, because I know that you're very much like a nuts and bolts guy when it comes to this stuff. So I'm curious to see where you want to go with this. Thoughts on the multiverse?
Just in general?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think. I mean, I think it's for real. But I think that it's totally possible that there's species that's so advanced from some of these that would come and say, this is interesting. Okay. That's interesting here. That's interesting here. That we couldn't conceive of their technology to the point where it could be right in front of us and we wouldn't realize it.
Yeah.
That's what and I don't mean to insult everybody, maybe a little, but I think that people need to really absorb that a little bit. If you have a species that's 20 million years ahead of us,
Oh yeah.
Would
they even care at that point?
They might not even care, but they might be interested and say, this is interesting. And they don't understand our, technology that we're doing there with daisies in the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or anything. They don't understand this, or they don't understand that we see them as ghosts. Okay, let them see as ghosts. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But I think that's something, to be able to travel. I mean, how would you do that? We don't know. We have theories. We have all these theories, but we don't know anything.
Yeah.
We don't really know anything. And so, if they would have that technology to come from this universe or that universe, and here we are in this universe, doing whatever. I literally think it could be right in front of all of us all the time. Oh, you mean they can be invisible? Yes. I mean, if you're beyond invisible, yes. I mean, if you could do that, you could do all this other stuff. I'm sure that you would have some things you could do, some things you couldn't do. But it's conceivable to say, we're surrounded by multiverse beings all the time.
Yeah. John, I'm going to ask you a very serious question. Okay.
This is new.
Very serious question.
Okay.
John, are you in fact an alien?
No, I know.
Would you tell me if you were?
I would, yes, but you can see me right now, so
Well, I didn't ask if you were an invisible
basic alien.
Didn't ask if you were an invisible alien, John. I just want to check the comments here because I remembered the thing that I wanted to get to, and that way I can forget it again before we get back to it. Man, there's a lot going on tonight. Let's see. This is a good point. Not something I had planned to cover, but what about the Christian nut jobs in Congress who are trying to shut down every science program? Some of them are even flat earthers. I'm not kidding. Do you think they will actually be able to investigate it with all of that going on?
Right.
It's a good point.
We're not ready.
To go back, we're not ready. Right. The government does not have any idea what's going on in the projects handling these cases. Tennessee Rep. Tim Burchett said it outright. Congress is just as out of the loop as the public. I want to say but at the same time, there's so much distrust,
right,
and so much lack of transparency. They just put the idiots up there, and
I think some of them are out of touch. I do. I think some of them are very much in touch and appear to be out of touch.
Yes. Let's see here. A good point that I've thought about as Earth as a resource planet. Expedition X premiere when they investigated an active volcano producing UAP activity. Resource planet, or maybe a source of transportation. If there's a way that we're talking X dimensionally here, certain minerals or something could be, in fact, the way they come.
It could be.
I mean, we're talking about things that we have no idea of how to not know.
If we're a resource plant, those resources would eventually run out for certain. But that's the thing for certain species. They might be looking for gold, uranium, whatever. Other ones might like, we don't care because we don't need it. You know, that could be true.
Also, water.
Water.
We are a water planet. We don't think about that because we all live on the land part of it.
Right.
But water here.
Yeah.
And in our own solar system, it's just us. And, well, they found actual water under Mars, I guess, now in the soil. But even then, it would only be very trace amounts of anything that they could get from that, you would assume, from Martian water. Other than that, unless there's water under Europa's ice sheets or whatever,
I don't think we would be the only water planet.
No, but in close proximity we are.
Right.
So that could be a rare resource. I mean,
it could be.
If we're like one of 3 within 4 solar systems, that's a rare amount.
That's a rare amount, right?
So my question, or the thing that I want to talk about, was we talked about the possibility of them being from interstellar space. We've talked about the possibility of them being from the multiverse. What I was curious to get your thoughts on is, how do you feel about them being time travelers?
As of maybe
future us's. Or maybe even really, really, really past us's.
Gotcha. I think that's possible. You're getting into sort of ancient alien type of thing. And I think that's possible. I think that's scary, because if they're trying to say, hey, don't do this, because as you can see, it's not working.
It's so great we came back here to look around.
Yeah, or like, how did we get here? Oh.
The thing about it for me is the evolution of the reports over the years, going way back into the descriptions of the craft that they're being seen. We started way back with the flying ships. We can stop there. We'll make that the starting point. Flying ships evolved into flying saucers, evolved into the triangles, evolved into the Tic Tac now. And, where is that going to go next? I always talk about, I'm curious as to what the next iteration of this phenomenon is going to be. Do you think that's because it's somebody different in these crafts over these past 150 years? Or is it because as we progress in time travel, our technology improved and you're seeing time travelers from different phases of the time travel program?
I got you.
I'm not sold on time travel. I'm just exploring this as a thought process here.
That's possible, I guess, if time travel is real. But if time travel is real, then it would be, you'd have to be so far advanced to time travel, and I think it would be sort of at a point in time where time travel was possible and they had the technology. Then I think on past that point, you would have various ones coming back if they wanted to. I don't think it would just be 1 year or 1 decade or whatever. I think you would have some 3 million years ahead, some maybe 20 million years ahead, some maybe people 1 year ahead of that time travel point.
Yeah. But I look at it like, you could look at it as a model of our space program and how, the way that from where we launched, the first manned space flight to where we are now. We're re-landing rockets, for crying out loud. And the shape has changed. If you were to describe one, you would describe it this way, then this way, then this way.
Right.
So if that's the case, it seems plausible. But time travel itself is an incomprehensible thing. It's hard to wrap your head around, because not only are you moving through time, you also have to move through space, because last year, if you go back time travel 1 year, John, Earth is not where it is now.
Right.
So you have to also calculate where Earth was to where you're going spatially,
Mhm.
as well as the time.
That's
I guess if you can conquer the time, the space thing's just math.
yeah, no, I think that would be it, you know. But then I wonder what would be the point in time travel in a way.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I would like to time travel, I guess, go back to certain things and see how strange it was. But
Do you think people would be more likely to time travel to the future or time travel to the past? This is a sub question. You think more people would go to the past for historical events or just in general?
I think going to the future is risky. You know, you say, let's time travel to whatever year. Oh, it's not here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oops.
But the history part of it, yeah, I think people, you know, would want to see what actually happened.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's ask the chat. Chat, hit us up. Would you rather time travel to the future or to the past? We don't need to debate whether time travel is a thing or could be a thing. That's a whole nother can of worms. If it was real, would you rather go to the future or to the past? We'll take a look at the comments here in just a little bit, just to see, kind of gauge. Because I would want to go to both. You know, there are several things in the past that I would want to see, but I would also like to. There's a lot of questions that I think I have now that will be answered in the future, and I would like to get the answers now because I'm a human being and I'm impatient.
Yes.
You know,
and you would like to invest.
And I wouldn't mind finding the next Apple or Microsoft.
Right,
you know?
right.
I don't think if we get to a point where our technology is that far ahead, that money is going to be a thought in our everyday life. I think to get to that point, we're going to need the majority of the population going into the hard sciences for generations. And after 30 years of the majority of the population in hard science, remedial jobs will no longer exist. No one's cleaning toilets. No one's cooking and serving and selling food. There will be technology that takes care of all of that. We will be living a life of either being a hard scientist or an entertainer. I mean, what else is
or
there?
Both.
Or maybe both. Maybe
right.
both.
Yeah.
Bill Nye of the future.
Right.
So I don't think that we would use time travel in the future as a way to get money, like
right.
the Back to the Future thing. I don't think that's the case.
No.
I think to get to that point, so much would have to change that we wouldn't even think about money. It would be a non-concern.
Let me ask you a question. How far advanced in technology do you think we would have to get before, say, a species from another planet or universe or whatever would say, okay, you're ready for us now?
I think we're close.
I'm just saying technology-wise. I'm not saying.
I think we're close, and I definitely think we're closer than we've ever been. But if you look at the progression of how fast our technology has moved in my lifetime alone, I'm 36 years old. You know, when we were just talking before the stream started, we were watching the intro video about the TVs, right? Okay, so it goes up exponentially, the amount of growth every year, right? Okay, so to say 30 years in the future, our technology will be at that level that it would be recognized by whoever this is. You're not just talking about 30 more years of right now. You're talking about exponential growth for another 30 years. And that's a big percentage. Look, I mean, 30 years in the past, we were still playing records. Yeah. Not because it was cool, because that's what we had.
Well, I'm 60. That's funny, isn't it?
You know this even more than I do, though. Like, I'm just.
Well, yeah, because I remember when I was very young watching the moon landing in school, and that was a huge deal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and if you look at the old videos, it's like, really? Yeah, but it was a huge deal, and the technology they had. Looking at it back then was like, wow, look what we can do. And now it's like,
yes,
really? So,
and we'll continue this. I want to see about the future and the past here.
Okay.
Oh, this is another good point. What if they have cloaking devices to look like weather balloons, Sean?
That's possible, yeah.
Future. Don't want to be in the past with no anesthesia. That's a good point. Although the anesthesias of the past are either get drunk or get knocked out.
Yes.
And then pass to meet ancestors. That doesn't surprise me. Matthew would want to go back to meet ancestors. Absolutely, Matthew. I know you don't know Matthew, John, but very into honoring the ancestors.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love to meet some of my ancestors.
Didn't think of that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been doing my genealogy.
Oh, have you?
And so far, no one's really stuck out that I'd go visit, I guess. But there's a curiosity.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And if not my ancestors, definitely a lot of historical figures, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people that I just missed out on, you know.
Yeah.
But really, you think about it, especially going back, way back, the people who I would find interesting, I don't even know they exist. Because for so long, people that are interested in weirdo stuff were, you know, either hung or burned alive,
Oh,
or,
yeah, you
know, stoned or whatever. They didn't talk about this stuff. So there's probably so many brilliant minds that have already come through life on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they even figured some of this shit out already.
Right.
But they could never talk about it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Who knows how much information has been lost?
Oh, a lot, I think.
Not just with this, but with everything. But this specifically, I mean, we've set ourselves back so far. We're playing with a handicap. I think.
I do. I think you're right there.
So yeah, going back to the technology thing, though, I think we're close, man. I think.
Do you think if we were there, technology, but we're not quite there,
socially and civilly,
sort of
and
like
emotionally,
right now? But you know,
no, we're not. I don't know how far we are from that.
Do you think? Say an advanced species would say, okay, we can deal with you being socially not quite there yet, but technology are, so okay, it's time. Or do you think they would wait till the majority could accept?
So hard to try to come up with what their thought process might be.
Right. I think their thought process would definitely think that.
I think it's like we have socially awkward friends. I mean, it's weird that we're friends because we're both incredibly socially awkward. But even relative to my level of socially awkwardness, I have friends who are more socially awkward than myself.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know, and just because they have the newest cell phone doesn't mean that I'm going to necessarily want to engage in a conversation about traveling through the multiverse with them.
Right.
You know, so it's two sides to the coin. I think the level of technology that we are at and are getting to will be a giant calling card. And maybe that will be an official first contact. And they'll be like, well, never mind. We'll be back, you know, in 20 years or whatever. Mm. Or maybe it's like, take these, work on this, you know,
right.
And right. Give us a call.
Yeah.
Here's how to build the interplanetary cell phone. And just, you know, speed dial number 2.
Right. Give us a call when you're ready, you know.
You know, I don't know, man. You know, number 1 on that speed dial is probably some pizzeria and Beetlejuice.
It could be.
System.
It could be. That sounds good right now. Pizza or
Beetlejuice pizza?
Might not be bad.
Might not. Never know. As long as it's not space pancakes. You heard the space pancake story?
No, I haven't.
Okay, this is really good. I don't remember specific details, and they'll eat me alive. Matthew will eat me alive for sure in the chat. So this guy, don't even remember when it was, sees a craft come down on his property. Mm-hmm. He goes out to the craft. Bean comes out of the craft with a pitcher, or what looks to be a pitcher. And the guy knows that this thing wants water. Goes, gets water, comes back. Bean comes back, takes the water, gives this guy what appear to be pancakes. Okay? Now, these pancakes, the guy takes them, he eats them, or he tries to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if it's just by the perception of the experience or by trial and error trying to recreate this. He determines that they taste like normal pancakes, except for there's no sodium. There's no salt. And that ties into sort of the Fae mythology, right? Because there's an aversion of salt to the Fae. Okay. And that's one of the bullet points for connecting alien interaction experiences with Fae interaction experiences, because the similarities are all over the place. And so that's part of what I think is going on. I think there are non-physical aspects to alien abductions for sure. And I think you can link that also to people who claim to go to the Hollow Earth or the Agartha, the also several other things. I mean, obviously with the flood, this is my favorite one, the flood of reports of aliens from Venus.
Yes.
Right? Okay. They come, they take somebody to Venus. There's all these beautiful women. They act the way they act. They bring them back. Obviously, that person didn't go to Venus or they would be burned alive. Right? So we know that physically, Tim didn't go to Venus.
Yeah.
You've dropped your nutsack, John. Congratulations.
No.
You don't need to know. So there's I don't believe that these people necessarily were lying. They did experience this. I just don't think it was a physical relocation. I think it was, you're going to get in. I know you don't do the woo-woo too much, but you're going to get into, maybe some sort of an astral situation, some sort of other non-physical plane of existence situation, transfer of consciousness, however you want to go through the specifics. And I think there's a lot of that going on even still with people who are having these abduction cases. In fact, I interviewed Bill Konkoleski last year. He is the state representative of MUFON for Michigan.
Oh.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Also an experiencer. And I have 2 of his books behind you somewhere. Both of 2 of his books. He's written 2 books. I have the book. And he even had expressed non-physical interactions with these beings that he had, been in contact with, that had been in contact with him from a very young age and up until, it's really slowed down. He said that the older he's gotten, I don't remember how old he is. He said, but, so there's that, there's, maybe we're not even getting the intelligent beings. Maybe like we go back, maybe it's the robots. Maybe it's some other even way that they're coming here, interacting on a level that we can comprehend them. But at the same time, they're not really here. They're in their lazy boy on,
eating space pancakes
on,
right.
Red 4, whatever
right.
planet, whatever system, whatever universe.
I just think we'll always need to be, because you watch sci-fi movies or whatever, and you say, oh, time travel works this way, or, going to another universe works this way, or if you get abducted, it works this way. It might not be true.
Oh, yeah. Likely not true.
Right. It's just,
Do you think, we know that there is an influence of the government, especially the CIA, with the major news outlets?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they admit it. Do you think there's also an inner working between these secret government groups and pop culture in the same way, with movies in the same way? Are they trying to condition us to the idea to make us more ready? I mean, we've had 50 years of aliens coming to Earth in the movies.
I don't know if they're trying to, I know that theory where they're trying to condition us, but sometimes I wonder if it's more of a thing where they're trying to test us to see if we're ready. Let's throw this out there. Let's throw this concept out there. What do they like? What they're, does this bother them? Does this, what's the audience reaction to this or to that? Because some of them, some of the sci-fi movies, especially the newer ones, are pretty funny. I mean, they're throwing some things in there that's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they're just trying to test us a little bit, or, to say, oh, look, this happened. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I could see that. Or that's really crazy. I don't know. I don't go with the theory that they're trying to condition us, because it's not working. if they're trying,
yeah,
I think they need to try something else, because it's not working. I just don't see that working. I see it almost working the opposite, honestly.
You think it's developing?
Excuse me a second. I have to reach down here and grab my nutsack.
Okay. Yeah. Don't tear anything. This is going to be fun. I'm going to look at the chat, the comments here again. Matthew would also like to go back in time to punch Andrew Jackson in the face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Why
not?
Now,
you're getting something like that. Should he? To change everything. And
Matthew, you're going to wreck everything.
Yeah.
Look at all the great things we're doing right now. You don't want to tear that up. Come on.
No.
The Day the Earth Stood Still was definitely a possible test movie. It feeds so many ufologists afterwards. I think it's a good point. I don't know. I don't really even know where I was going to go with this pop culture thing, but
well, I think the test movie. I mean, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, do you accept this or not, or do you think this is scary? Do you think this is crazy? But I don't think they're trying to necessarily shape us. I hope not, because that's not working. I mean, that's just not working. I think if they were trying to get us in shape to accept certain things, I think it would be, I don't think it'd necessarily be through movies. I think it would be through the news.
Woo-hoo. Really?
Yes. I really do.
That's not going to work eventually.
No.
The younger generation could not care less about the news.
Right.
It's going to have to shift in the delivery.
Right. Entertainment news, maybe. I don't know.
You also have to take into account there are a large portion of the population that's just not going to care about a sci-fi movie. They're not going to go watch it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And the majority of the people that are going to go watch this type of movies probably more lean towards our way of thinking, already.
Right.
Those aren't the people that you're even worried about. Like, you and I could handle it.
Mm-hmm.
If a UFO landed out here right now.
Right. Right.
Maybe it is.
Come on in. We got some questions.
Yeah. I think we would be okay.
Yeah.
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 But a lot of people I know would not be okay.
Would not be okay.
Yeah.
Even
just seeing one, they wouldn't be okay.
But what could you do to make them okay? I don't think movies are going to do it. That's my point. I don't think, because like you said, I can think of some people that are not going to go see them, and they're not okay with it, and they're not going to go see movies that would make them okay with it. So how would you reach those people?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. There's probably not going to be a one-size-fits-all solution to the problem.
No.
If it's even a problem that they're trying to tackle.
Right.
Maybe they're not. Maybe the government doesn't care if we're ready or not. They don't seem to care if we're ready for
I
other
think there'll
things.
be a point where it won't make no difference.
You think eventually it's just going to happen?
Yeah, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
At some point it will.
We're inadvertently stumbling backwards into levels of technology that are going to be impossible to ignore at some point.
Right.
And while it won't be our intention to light the flare, so to speak, the flare will be lit and jettisoned into interstellar space where they'll track it and they'll come.
I remember my grandpa talking about the car when the car first came along. It's really interesting because there was people totally against it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Against the car?
Yeah. It was going to cut down on business and different things, and this was going to happen. It's going to kill a lot of people. It's going to be totally dangerous.
Yeah. Not wrong.
But we had the car anyway where the people were ready for it or not. I know that's a minor thing, but yet I think there's a thing there where I think that at some point things happen, whether we're ready or not.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah.
No toilet paper. We're not ready for it, but here it is,
The distinction between the car and this level of technology is...
Yeah, I know.
It's plentiful. The point was there were people that were ready to make a whole lot of money off of the car.
Right.
Look what came from the fact that we have to have cars. It's now we have to have gasoline, oil, rubber for tires, asphalt for road. Those people are still amongst the highest earning people. You know what I mean? Those are families that have inherited so much wealth because of the people who took that chance and convinced us that we all needed to have our own cars in America, and we all needed to buy gasoline in America, and we all needed to buy tires in America, which are made from byproducts of gasoline, refining. And I think that's a big stranglehold on why we aren't looking more at electric vehicles at this point too, is because those people aren't ready to give up that money and that power yet. And until they are, we're going to keep focusing all of our direction and how do we use what we already know how to operate.
Right.
But once we make that leap and we go to the next thing, I think we're going to see all sorts of changes technologically. And again, that goes back to the exponential growth year by year in our, in our technology and how far we're going. I don't know. It's hard to wrap your head around.
It's very slow. It really, it really is.
It's so slow.
Because I was a little kid and I watched them land on the moon. And now we're talking about doing it again, and I'm 60 years old. It's very, very slow. It is.
But
I know.
If we landed on the moon right now, it would be with an entire colony, probably, and structures being transported, potentially even some sort of an elevator system to eliminate propulsion travel entirely. I don't think we have the ability in the next 20 years to make some sort of a jump, or, like the classic sci-fi trope, the jump, the time jump, the space jump, whatever, or teleportation. That's not going to be ever happening, I don't think. So I think a space elevator to
unless something is discovered,
Yeah. But would we know what to do with it? If we go back to Bob Lazar, we started this whole conversation. The government had everything so compartmentalized, if you believe Bob Lazar's story. No one knew much about what they were working on, period. In a grand scheme, no one knew anything.
Right.
So it's going to require a lot of work.
That's very believable.
No, absolutely.
That's very believable.
One part of the story I absolutely have no disbelief in is how compartmentalized that all worked.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fascinating, John.
It is.
Is there anything else about UFOs that you'd like to talk about? Did you come prepared with more information to share?
No, I did not. I've had a very busy week.
It's hard being retired.
It really is.
No.
Just work the rest of your life. You don't want to do this.
No. Don't do it. Quit now. Get out. No. We've been going for about an hour and 18 minutes. 15 of that was the fancy new introduction video that I worked up. Hopefully you liked that. I might tinker with it some more. John and I were talking about some things that I'd like to try. I thought it was a neat way to change it up. We've been using the same one this whole time. The countdown, the big flipping numbers, and the pink and purple forest and everything. As the show is getting further along, John, I'm getting to where I'm at the end of season 3 of the show that you abandoned. And don't feel bad about it, John.
No, I don't.
No, really. Don't feel bad about leaving me all alone. So we're working our way towards the end of season 3, and every season I've done a facelift with a new logo, a new theme, a new theme song. So I thought it was time to change up the live stream stuff too a little bit, and there'll be more changes to it coming, I'm sure. I know most people watch these later on. They keep them up, John. We keep them up for people to watch whenever. Mm-hmm. We have people in different time zones, people who are busy on the weekends, whatever. People watch more later than they do live. So in case you skipped part of it at the beginning, before we go, send me your mailing address so you can get your hot sauce. I'm sitting on too many of these and I need to unload them, and I need you to tell me where to send yours. Because I want to make sure everybody's got one. I know a lot of people already have them, just people that I've met in real life and I've been able to give to. I've met some people, John, and been able to actually physically hand them their hot sauce, and in some cases judge their immediate reactions as they ate it off of their finger. And some people didn't handle it well. I'm sure Matthew told me he was going to save his to use as bear mace for his journeys into the forest. Because he can't handle the spicy food. So, can you handle spicy stuff?
I can handle some spicy stuff.
Well, I'll send you home with one.
Oh.
And if you don't want to eat it, you can just keep it as
as a souvenir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I will get you one before you go home. This has been fun, man. This has been
fun.
Cool to have this again.
It's like the old days.
It's like the old days. And you're always welcome in the studio. You're always welcome in the patio. The patio.
Right.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, hanging out with us tonight. I know everybody's busy. Warmer weather, people are doing things. Everybody's got their own stuff. John, thanks for taking time to come and hang out.
You're welcome.
And chat with everybody. I know you like to chat about this stuff. So it's been a great time, and we'll see you guys on the next one. The next interview that I'm doing is Wednesday, and it's also UFO related. I'll be speaking with some filmmakers who have just put out a documentary, which I had early access to. And they interviewed, I think, 4 or 5 different people in this documentary, different angles and different aspects of conscious contact, John. It was actually a really good documentary. I'll tell you about it later. You can just listen to the show like everyone else. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out, and we'll see you soon. Peace, love, and hot sauce.